Welcome to the Scam Economy with your host, Matt Bender.
Welcome to Scam Economy, everyone. I am your host, Matt Binder, and if you're just coming back from your nice, relaxing summer vacation, like me, no matter what it is you did, you likely had a better summer than the cryptocurrency Web3 NFT space. I know a lot of people have called it crypto winter, but I'm calling it crypto's summer from hell. And I know there's still a few weeks left of summer, but we're headed towards Labor Day. Kids are going back to school. Everyone's getting back into the grind. We're heading into fall. So what better time to look back at some of the bigger stories that happened during the summer that we didn't already cover on this show? Now, there's a lot, and we're obviously not going to get to it all. Like I've said before, I could probably do a daily show and still not be able to cover everything that goes on in this space. But we're going to get to a lot of juicy stories. But before we do that, folks, to support this show, go to patreon.com/MattBinder and become a paying subscriber if you can. You can also support this show by going to youtube.com/MattBinder and subscribing to the YouTube channel, twitch.tv/MattBinder, and follow that Twitch channel, scameconomy.com for all the links to the podcast version of this show. And as always, you can follow me at Matt Binder on Twitter and the show itself at Scam Economy on Twitter. Now we have the perfect guest to walk us through some of these crypto summer from hell stories. So let's jump right in. And joining me now to discuss the summer of crypto, I guess we can call it. I know everyone was calling it like crypto winter when it happened, because when all the crypto failures and plunges in the market were going on. And I know that's usually like the terminology for it, but I was like, wouldn't summer from hell fit better? I mean, that's basically what it was. But joining me now to talk about whatever you want to call it, crypto winter, summer from hell, is one of my favorite people to have on this show. Developer, longtime Wikipedia editor, and the creator of Web3 is Going Great, Molly White. Molly, thank you so much for joining me again.
Thanks for having me back.
Oh my, I mean, literally, like I was just telling you before we started, how, I did something rare I don't usually do. I actually was offline for like half of the month of August. And so I would just, jump on Twitter every now and then just to see what the big news was, what's going on with Trump and those classified documents. But that's for another podcast. But so when I finally get back home and sit down, I need to catch up on what the hell's been going on in the crypto space. Web3 is Going Great is a godsend. It literally just gave me everything I needed to know and then some, quite frankly. Some of these stories, I don't even know how you found them. They're so ridiculous, some of them. But we're going to actually talk about a few of the big ones here on this episode. Now, the beginning of the summer, the headlines were all about the crypto lenders that fell shortly after the failure of Terra and Luna, and all of these things came together to cause this big crypto crash. And I've covered Voyager and Celsius on earlier episodes. The previous episode of the show, I had on Ed Zitron to talk about all of Coinbase's woes and the insider trading case where someone who worked for Coinbase was passing on insider knowledge, and they were making money off of that. So on this episode, we're going to focus on some of these big stories that sort of broke in the second half of the summer from hell. I'm going to go with that, by the way. I like that better than crypto winter. And I think the best one to start with is this one that I saw you personally get yourself wrapped up into Because you saw. First of all, I should say no. We're not about to talk. I'm not about to like unveil that Molly White was secretly behind some crypto project, and she rug pulled everybody, which would honestly make for a really great story. But that's not what happened. Basically, you saw that the farmer bro, Martin Shkreli, is that how you say his name? I can't even remember.
Shkreli, I think.
Shkreli, yeah. How he got out of jail. For people who don't remember, he was that guy who basically bought what do you I don't even remember his whole story, but he bought some the trademark or whatever it is for a certain drug, and then he increased the price like 100-fold, basically making
Just more than that.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So the people who needed that medication could no longer afford it, and then all this other financial stuff came out, and he ended up going to prison. And then he came back out, and I mean, really, right on the nose here. He decided to get into crypto. What happened
I think
here?
I think it was either the night he got out of prison or the next day he was like on Twitter Spaces immediately talking about like which shit coins to invest in. It was like very on brand. I think he claimed that he had like a contraband phone in prison that he was using to trade. Like it was nonsense, but anyway, I think no big shock that he has been drawn to the crypto and Web3 space. It's just sort of you can't resist it. It's irresistible, I think, to some folks. So he is starting a company that says it is Web3. Not super clear exactly where the Web3 part comes in, aside from, I guess, attracting investors. But he is aiming to use crypto to help, I think, finance software that will aid in drug discovery, which, in fairness, that part I think is useful, the drug discovery part. But there is some token involved somehow, although it's not really clear how. And, the whole thing is all Web3ified. There's a Discord channel, the whole nine yards.
Right. I'm almost sort of conflicted over which is the worse addition to that original, like you mentioned, good idea, new drug discovery. Is it injecting cryptocurrency into that? Or is it including Martin Shkreli in that?
Pick your poison, I guess.
Right, because whatever he discovers, I'm sure, again, it won't be cheap for the people who would most benefit from that drug. But again, we're talking about the guy who I think most people are probably familiar with him for basically buying that Wu-Tang album that was never released and like hoarding it for himself. And then, of course, that album was purchased with those funds that he legitimately gained or whatever that sent him to prison, and that Wu-Tang album ended up going on the auction block or something.
Yeah, I think so.
Dear. So you saw that first of all, he had to, like you said, he had to have known about the space if, he was in prison during the whole crypto boom. And then for him to get out and immediately, get in the space. I mean, he had to have been following it while in prison. I mean,
one would assume.
right. Unless like he literally got out and like just like smelled the scheming in the air, and just like a cartoon rat who smells cheese, just
flying.
Yeah, floating in the air towards the crypto scamming ideas. So you see Martin Shkreli out of prison. He's got this Web3 project for drug discovery, and you're like, all right, I got to jump in the Discord channel and see what's going on. And you had interacted with him, right?
Yeah. Usually when I join Discords to see, if a project gets rug pulled or there's something that looks shady, like I'll hop in the Discord and just watch. I don't usually talk that much. But there weren't that many people talking in this Discord at that point. There weren't that many people in it at all, actually. And someone who was there was asking some good questions about, it was stuff like, how does the token come into play here? Because the website said it was powered by this MSI token, which stands for Martin Shkreli Inu, by the way. It's like Shiba Inu. Yeah. He didn't create it either. It's like someone created it, a fan maybe of Martin Shkreli, which is just an odd thing to find yourself being. But anyway, it said he somehow found this and decided to like take over the token about him, and then wrote on the website that it's powered by Martin Shkreli Inu, but nothing in the actual white paper on the website explains like what the token has to do with anything. Like it doesn't seem to incentivize the drug discovery. It doesn't seem to be used to maintain any network that is powering this. So anyway, there was a person there asking all these questions. And my biggest curiosity at that point was how Martin Shkreli could start a company like this when he is prohibited from working in the pharma industry. Because he was, he went through this actual lawsuit, but there was also another like civil lawsuit around some of his actions to do with the hiking up of the drug prices and things like that, and so he was eventually banned from the pharma industry. And so my question was like, you're starting a company to develop to discover compounds that could eventually be developed into new pharmaceuticals. How is that not a violation of this order? And so that's what I started asking questions about. And, he started to answer them, or sort of answer them. And then at some point realized that I maintained Web3 is going just great. And he had seen the post on there. And so things got a little heated after that, I would say.
Now, I'm looking at the, first of all, I'm actually really distracted by the Martin Shkreli Inu name. So he really did it. I mean, like most of these projects, there's nothing behind it. Like you mentioned, like there was no fleshed out idea as to why crypto was necessary for this this drug discovery project, or the software for the pharmaceutical platform, and it's just like clear that this is Martin Shkreli doing his thing and looking for his next play, and so I'm being careful with my wording here because it seems like Martin Shkreli, his grand token idea has already come to a end.
It hasn't come to an end, but it has hit a pretty serious speed bump, I think is probably how I would put it.
Okay.
So the token still exists, it hasn't been wound down or anything like that. But shortly after the project was announced, Martin Shkreli claimed that his crypto wallet had been hacked and someone had stolen all of his Martin Shkreli Inu tokens, which they sold off for, I think it was like $400,000 or something like that.
I don't even, what? I mean, that's a lot of money for a guy who just came out of prison and just threw this bullshit project together. And you even said there wasn't that many people in the Discord. And this was how much time passes between him getting out of prison and his wallet is quote unquote hacked?
Let me just double check. The hack happened on August 12th. So, 2 weeks ago or so. And the project launched on,
I mean, it's gotta be
July 25th.
Yeah,
so it was like 3 weeks between the launch and the hack.
The dude made almost whoever sold off those. Because all right, I think I'm getting ahead of myself here. Because all right, so let's set the stage here. So Martin Shkreli out of prison. Quick recap. Martin Shkreli out of prison immediately launches some Web3 project. You see it, jump in the Discord, start asking him questions about it because it makes no sense. Because of course it doesn't make any sense. It's a Web3 project run by Martin Shkreli. He quickly finds out that you are the creator of one of the largest crypto critical, I'm not even going to say one of the largest crypto critical website on the planet. And he immediately, I guess he changes his demeanor towards you and I guess stops answering your questions.
Yeah, he mostly just got really mad that he didn't think I asked for his side of the story, which is kind of a weird thing to accuse you of when I was literally sitting there asking for his side of the story. But
right, and this is before there's anything potentially. Well, we are dealing with crypto, but this is before anything for his specific project. Again, we're dealing with Martin Shkreli, but this is before anything is obviously or blatantly a scheme or scam or something shady going on here. At this point, it's just he announces the project and you're interested in finding out more.
And I was curious mostly about how he planned to pull this off with the restriction from the pharmaceutical industry. But
right.
Yes.
Right. So he's immediately turned off by your questioning once he finds out who you are. And then fast forward, did you hear anything about this project in the span between your back and forth with him and then his wallet being hacked?
No, I pretty much immediately forgot it ever happened.
Wait, you mean chatting with Martin Shkreli in a Discord wasn't one of the highlights of your month?
Yeah, no. They actually had configured the Discord poorly, and so they hadn't turned off the thing where you can like ping everyone in the server all at once. And so I left the server like the next day because people kept doing that and it was really annoying. So I was like, I hate this, and I just left. So I was not, I didn't even know what was going on in the Discord. Like I had no idea.
It really does make sense that crypto people flock to Discord because it really is one of the worst platforms I've ever seen.
It's pretty brutal, yeah.
And the thing is, like, I have a Discord because early on when I started my own Patreon page, everyone told me, oh, everyone loves the idea you connect your Discord to your Patreon and people will talk in there. But I think the platform's such a mess. I always tell people I promise I'll use it. And I always sadly break that promise because the second I go in there, I'm like, where is everything? I hate this. Why doesn't it work like a easy to manage platform in the year 2022? Like, why does it got to look like that? Why does it got to act this way? It's amazing.
I don't know what's going on with Discord, but I agree. And I join a lot of Discords for these different projects, and I try to leave them as quickly as I can because the crypto-focused Discords are particularly terrible.
Right. It's all honestly, I would respect it if I find out that the whole thing was purposely set up that way, so it was all just easily hackable to screw over all those crypto projects that get there because their Discord's hacked. I mean, I would respect that.
I mean, it was like 100 in a month that Discords were hacked. I think in July.
It's so weird that A, that's able to happen so easily on Discord, and then B, it just seems to most frequently affect the crypto Discords. I mean, yeah.
Why could that be?
Right, but back to Shkreli. So fast forward those 2 weeks since your interaction with him, and someone allegedly. Again, being very careful here because I believe he's very liberal with his threats of litigation. Is that correct?
So I've been told.
So allegedly, his wallet was hacked, and his Martin Shkreli Inu was allegedly stolen, and that Martin Shkreli Inu was allegedly swapped by whomever allegedly stole it for close to $500,000.
Yep.
Molly, I need to stop doing this show and I need to get involved in some of these crypto scams.
I'm telling you, I think about it weekly that I'm just gonna disappear suddenly, and that's what will have happened.
Listen, I'm not a greedy person. I just need one hacked Martin Shkreli wallet for $500,000 and I'd be happy. I mean, really, I wouldn't need to, like, some of these guys get so greedy and they're just $1 million hack after $1 million hack after multi-million-dollar hack. You got like the great Bitfinex heist where, billions. It's like, just take enough where you can live comfortably and never, which for me is honestly not that much, and never have to work again. And
and just sign off the internet forever. That's exactly what you should do.
So what do we know about this hack, allegedly?
Well, Shkreli came out the next day that it happened and said, I've been hacked, my wallet was cracked or whatever. And people immediately started going, okay, what happened? And he gave a lot of detail on what reportedly happened, which was that he downloaded a torrent of pornography. He gave out the name of it, which is very funny to me.
If you don't want to read it, I will, because
I don't have it on my screen, but it was something like big tits, round asses.
Oh, your memory's quite good.
It's seared in there.
Right, but it's specifically, I mean, I guess we should look up exactly who this performer is. Someone named Jasmine, Jazmyn. Yeah, I mean, and it seems like it might not be a new, I don't know what the date, how the dating is on this. I guess it's a European, but it's labeled 17.12.14, so it's either December 17th, 2014 or December 14th, 2017. I don't know.
I had the exact same thought, and I was like, is he catching up from when he was in prison? Like, and maybe no one's told him that you can just stream pornography now? Like, we live in the future.
Right, where was he downloading this torrent from?
It's a great question. But maybe, anyway,
maybe 2017 is the most recent video from Pirate Bay or something.
They've just stopped bothering. They don't even upload them anymore. But anyway, so he claimed that was what had happened, and he immediately started offering to send everyone the logs and the file and everything. And he was like, I'm making all these reports to these agencies, and he sort of went on the defensive really quickly. Like, how could anyone believe that I would pull off a scam against myself? This is my project. Why would I hurt my own project and all of this stuff? But it sure does look a little shady, doesn't it?
Allegedly, yes, it does.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost feel like he was announcing this stuff like out loud and recording it while he was doing it. Like, oh, I am downloading a torrent on Pirate Bay. Oh, big tits, round asses. Jasmine, download. Oh no, what is this? A remote access Trojan. Oh no, my wallet.
Yeah, it's just such a detailed story, I guess, and no apparent shame around the torrent itself, which, more power to him. It's good to be sex positive.
I gotta say that part of it is the most relatable of Martin Shkreli's ever been, probably.
Maybe he's just trying to, make himself seem more relatable to like the everyday guy.
Right. What would these crypto degens be doing? Oh, of course, downloading porn.
Yep.
So it seems like somebody. I am going to wildly speculate that I'm going to be careful here that this story isn't exactly how it didn't go down exactly how we're being told, but someone walked away with $500,000 from a project that Martin Shkreli basically created out of thin air in a 3-week time span.
Something like that. Yeah, it sure seems that way.
I just don't know what to do anymore. It's real.
Yeah. He also, shortly after the hack, got on a phone call with the streamer Destiny and screamed at him for a while about Destiny, questioning whether or not Shkreli might have been behind the hack. He was very upset about that. That's
Okay.
fun to watch.
All right. I will have to watch that. I'll have to put it on my catch up on Destiny playlist right after, I guess, his hangout with Nick Fuentes.
Yeah, right. Super enjoyable guy. I was just watching Destiny like I do, and just happened to stumble across it, of course.
Right. But again, I got another podcast for this, which, by the way, you need to come on that podcast too, because I mean, really, a lot of overlap here.
There is a lot of overlap.
Yeah. A quick question. I know you started a Patreon. Welcome to the club over the past couple of weeks. I'm guessing around maybe the same time as Martin Shkreli's project launched, right? Did you make $500,000 from your Patreon yet, Molly?
Yeah, there's this one donor, Sharton Shkreli.
Right. I gotta say that would be the ultimate way to like really hide your tracks, right? I mean, find your biggest hater and just send them like a large portion of your heist. Keep enough for yourself that it made it worth it, but send them a portion of your heist, and then you can say, look at this. I would never send. Why would I send money to Molly White, who was just tearing my project to shreds just a few weeks ago?
Maybe he'll frame me for it.
Right. Listen, if anyone
seems really interested in all these crypto scams.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if anyone would like to frame me or Molly for any crypto scam and would like us to hold your crypto heist holdings, I'm more than happy to do so.
I'll make a crypto wallet for you.
Yeah, send it my way.
A whole one.
Send it my way. Yeah, exactly. All right, so I guess we're going to have to keep an eye out for Martin Shkreli in this space, which, could be fun. Could be depressing after a while. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, well, according to him, he has reported this to every agency possible, the FBI, their cyber crimes unit, all these different investigators. So I am very curious to hear if and how that actually concludes.
Right. I'm sure he is definitely reported to them all, including the Martin Shkreli Inu Investigation Bureau. Oh my God! All right, let's move on from Shkreli because there's still so much to talk about. Summer's coming to an end, and I don't know. I wanted to make a segue here, but then I realized that I'm confusing my natural disasters. I was going to talk about hurricane season, but we're talking about tornado cash.
That was almost a segue.
I was close, right? I was close. Honestly, their little logo looks more like a hurricane than a tornado.
Yeah, it does.
So let's talk about Tornado Cash because if you were familiar with Tornado Cash before August of 2022, you probably knew of it as a crypto tumbler, whatever that is, and basically, for most people, the understanding there is that these crypto tumblers are great for robberies and crypto scams if you want to hide your tracks and basically take that crypto from your wallet that crypto that you had stole that was in your wallet, mash it all up all over the place. That's how I imagined it. And all of a sudden it comes out nice and laundered for you. Just like if you put it in a nice washing machine. So Molly, what happened with Tornado Cash post July 31st, 2022?
Yeah, so Tornado Cash was recently added to the US sanctions list. It's, sort of an interesting first, I think, where it's basically, a bunch of Ethereum addresses all added to the sanctions list with sort of no identifiable individual behind it or even group really behind it. But, basically the US came out and said that because of the use of Tornado Cash in facilitating crimes, especially by countries like North Korea. They were going to just sanction the whole dang thing. Because we've seen in the wake of like the Axie Infinity hack, which, is believed to have been perpetrated by the Lazarus Group, which is, a North Korean state-sponsored hacking group. They laundered a ton of money through Tornado Cash, and, it's not the only time that enormous criminal operations have done that. So, I think they're sort of trying to crack down on that. And it's been very interesting to watch the sanctions sort of ripple effects.
Right. Now, what was the legitimate uses for Tornado Cash? Like, that's what I always wondered, like, okay, this is a pretty big platform. People I hear a lot about it, and it's almost always people trying to like hide their tracks. That can't be why it was set up, could it?
It actually can, because with crypto, with Bitcoin or Ethereum or these other popular blockchains, everything you do on chain is public. So, if you send crypto from one place to the other, anyone who knows your wallet address can see what you're doing. And so people who want even just a semblance of privacy basically have to launder their own money, even if it's nothing criminal. They just want, to have a little bit more privacy about where their wallets are. If you have one crypto wallet that everyone knows, it's like molly.eth or whatever, everyone knows that's my wallet. And I want to have some other wallet. Yeah, yeah, definitely. You should send it money.
That's
where Martin Shkreli can send the proceeds of his
do you really have that? Yeah. Okay, I'm about to say, because whoever does is about to get a windfall from the scam economy audience of roughly $3, I'm sure.
Yeah, their combined crypto holdings with the scam economy audience. Yeah. So anyway, if you have a wallet that everyone knows belongs to you, and then you want to have some other crypto wallet that's not quite as public, people have to basically do money laundering to fund that other wallet without it being extremely obvious that that's what they're doing. So, there are some legitimate use cases for Tornado Cash, but I think the majority of the volume, especially if you go by the monetary amounts, is criminal activity.
I have to say, like, and this conversation comes up a lot whenever the few but extremely loud group of people who consider themselves to be like blockchain lefties come out and talk about crypto, and like this always really bothered me. Like, I'm an advocate for privacy. People should have the ability to do things and not be, online in their life, have autonomy over themselves and what they do, and not be judged by it from people finding out or whatever. I fully agree with that in everything but finance, because there is zero reason for any sort of privacy in your financial matters. Now, if you don't want to tell someone how much you make or whatever, how much you have in your bank account, you could do that. That's not something what we're talking about here. We're talking about the ability to hide how much you hold from your assets from a government body. And the only reason to ever do that is if you are doing something illegal, in my opinion. I mean, I really can't think of a possible use case. Like, what would someone who, like, some working class, everyday American citizen want to hide their meager salary earnings from? Like, there's no reason for it. Like, the everyday person has no need to hide that. Like, I think that's just my view on the whole matter. I don't know where you stand on that.
Yeah, I disagree on that. I mean, I do think that everyone should have, some right to privacy, even with finance. I think for better or for worse, the system that we have today, it's in the attempts to crack down on money laundering. It actually has very little privacy compared to, the rest of our lives. And I think there are reasons that people, want to keep their finances private, including from the government. If they are associated with activist groups, for example, that they're donating money to that might be, not the favorites of the government. If they are, if they frequent sex workers, for example, and that is something that banks sometimes frown upon, even if the actual activity isn't illegal. So, I think there are good arguments to be made for financial privacy, but, and this is actually something where I sort of haven't quite figured out my own opinions on this. I know this is a very controversial thing to say that I don't have a strong opinion on something on the internet. But I do think that the level to which you are allowed financial privacy, the monetary amounts, is sort of an odd situation where you can have financial privacy up until a certain amount, as far as cash transfers and things like that. That doesn't raise any red flags. But then at a certain level, you sort of lose your financial privacy and you start to have to report things. And I think that's kind of an odd scenario, where it's like you can have a little bit as a treat, but the larger transactions are fully surveilled. So I don't know. I see some arguments in both directions. And I haven't fully decided where I stand on it.
Right. No, that's we're not here to. I agree with you on the sex worker point. I think that was a really good point that I was overlooking. Absolutely. But even activist groups have to file their taxes, right? So I mean, yeah. So back to Tornado Cash. I mean, what was the reaction from the crypto community? Because I feel like. Was there I mean, obviously they probably were upset that a crypto platform, period, was being subjected to the sanctions list. But I do wonder if people who do care about the legitimacy of crypto were sort of maybe even quietly or maybe saying it loudly too. I missed, again, I missed the reaction to this. We're sort of happy that a platform pretty much almost solely based on nefarious usage of crypto was sort of kaput.
Yeah, I think there was maybe a little bit of that, but I would say that overall the sentiment was pretty negative. I think there was a lot of concern around the actual enforcement of the sanctions and what that would look like, because the sanctions list had a number of Ethereum wallet addresses associated with it, but obviously you can create a new Ethereum wallet in a second, and so there were some questions around, like, are people going to be expected to proactively identify Ethereum wallets or other crypto wallets that are associated with Tornado Cash? If is anyone who has ever interacted with one of the sanctioned wallets going to be like retroactively punished? What exactly are the ramifications of this going to be? So it was definitely an interesting discussion, I think. And we, in the ensuing days and weeks, we sort of saw things get pretty weird around Tornado Cash, where different projects started shutting down access to those wallets. There was a project that started to sort of shut down access to those secondary sort of second level wallets that had interacted with the Tornado Cash Ethereum wallets, which ended up having an enormous unintended consequence of restricting the access of like a ton of people to their platform, especially because some people had started using Tornado Cash to send small amounts of Ether to notable figures in crypto as sort of a weird protest. So it was a weird couple of days, couple of weeks there for sure.
And then I saw that the developer of Tornado Cash was arrested.
Yeah, so I think it was the Dutch authorities arrested a developer of Tornado Cash, and that's been kind of a weird incident because it's not exactly clear why he was arrested. The statement was pretty vague, and it wasn't clear if he was arrested, just for writing the code, or if he had been sort of more actively facilitating some of the money laundering. But it definitely started to raise a lot of questions around, can you be arrested for writing code that someone else uses to commit a crime? Or, does it have to be you that actually commits or facilitates that crime? Which is, a very interesting question just in general.
Right. Yes. Absolutely. It would be interesting to see what comes out of that. I'm gonna make based on what I think is that from the little knowledge I have of it. I'm just reading the quote here on your website that they put out. The Netherlands Fiscal Information Investigation Service said this developer was suspected of involvement in concealing criminal financial flows and facilitating money laundering. It seems like to me from that statement, at least my read of it is that it sounds like there is something more direct going on there. I could be wrong. They could be, putting a statement. Their wording could be different, in their like interpretation of it. But it does seem like it's just not like he set up Tornado Cash and put it out there and other people used it. It seems like this person knowingly was involved with something here.
Yeah, it's possible. Although I also think, if they had a very clear case that he had been like, himself laundering money for North Korea or something, they probably would have just come out and said that. But
right, that's another good point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. And there's definitely a lot of complexities around it too, where, if you're actually running one of the tornado relays, which, is required for the whole system to work, even if you don't put any criminal funds in, or if you're not using it for illicit activity yourself, you do actually earn crypto for running those relays. And so you are, in a way, profiting from the activity that's happening through those nodes. And so there's sort of a question of like, could someone themselves be, face enforcement actions if they continue to run a tornado relay and things like that. It's sort of uncharted territory, I think, that will be interesting to watch.
Right. I'm like trying to quickly read any updates that came out about it. It was interesting. And this could be, depending on which way it goes here in terms of what this person was involved with specifically. This could definitely be wild, depending on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about. I'm seeing if the developer in jail for 90 days. That was the ruling. All right. Well, we'll have to keep an eye out on that as well. Let's now talk about this is perfect because this perfectly sort of this story, while not connected directly to Tornado Cash, is another crypto platform accused of wrongdoing by a government body. And in this specific case, it's almost a little bit funny because apparently the company that acquired them all of a sudden is saying that they actually did not acquire them. So earlier this month, an Indian cryptocurrency exchange called, I don't know how to pronounce this, Wazir X? Is that how you pronounce it?
Sounds right.
All right, I'll go. It could also be Wazirix. So India froze their assets because under the suspicion that this platform was enabling money laundering. And so at the time it was reported that Binance, which is the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, had acquired them. So this was actually an Indian subsidiary of Binance. At the time, that's what we thought. Now, Binance comes out and says that, hey, we actually do not claim ownership over Wazarex anymore. What?
Yeah, and they had like Binance had published a blog post and everything about, we've got this new crypto exchange operating in India, and then they went back and they like edited the blog post to be like, just so we're clear, I forget what they said exactly, but they were like, we do a little bit of stuff with them, but we don't actually operate them. And then the guy who actually runs the exchange, in India was basically like, yes, you do own us. And so there was this sort of fight between CZ and CZ being the Binance founder and CEO, and this, the guy who is leading the WazirX exchange saying like, you own us. No, we don't own you. And going back and forth on it, which definitely makes you question what is going on there. Because it doesn't seem like a good way to run a business if no one's sure who owns the business.
Right. I mean, I almost feel like should print up some T-shirts with that blog post headline on Binance that says Binance acquires India's leading digital asset platform, WazirX. On the last
episode, like it couldn't be more explicit than in the title of the blog post, and then they're like, no, I don't understand why you would say that.
Right. On the last episode of the show, I had joked with Ed Zitron about, because we did a Coinbase episode about how they were listing securities according to the SEC, and we had said, I said how I should print up a Scam Economy shirt that says exactly what this Coinbase blog post says, which is the title is Coinbase does not list securities. End of story.
Yeah, I've actually joked about printing up a T-shirt from Coinbase as well that says there is no risk of bankruptcy.
Yeah,
because Coinbase came out and said that, and everyone was like, "Why would you say that?"
And I'm pretty sure that that headline is just like it's just like that that ongoing online joke about how like, oh, my shirt about what's it like human trafficking, it sure brings up a lot of questions about my involvement in human trafficking
that are already answered by my shirt.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's like, I do not partake in human trafficking shirt. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, so there's a little update at the top of their Binance acquires WazirX blog post to say that the quote unquote acquisition was limited to an agreement to purchase certain assets and intellectual property, which is not what most people would call an acquisition.
That's very odd. Yes. Now I wonder if this was A, not true, or B, actually true, but the original post is just another example of a crypto company greatly exaggerating something in order to sound like they are doing something bigger than they are actually doing.
Yeah, the one thing that makes me really question it is, well, a sort of long history of somewhat shady behavior on behalf of Binance, which was most recently apparent in a sudden and unexplained blog post by an executive at Binance who came out and said that scammers were using deep fakes to impersonate him, which it's like I am still waiting to hear what news story he's trying to front run with that, because it sounds exactly like that's what he's trying to do. But basically he was saying that people had been contacting him about these meetings that he had supposedly had with them about listing their tokens, and he was obviously unaware of these meetings, and he concluded that someone had been using a quote AI hologram to scam people, but he wasn't clear at all on like what the actual scam was, like where the theft was happening, or how. The biggest question really is how someone was actually doing this, because to date, deep fakes are primarily used in like pre-recorded videos that are published to YouTube of like Elon Musk, pretending to say that he'll double your Bitcoin. the technology hasn't really progressed, or we haven't really heard about it progressing to the point where people can have live conversations on like a video chat where they're impersonating a person convincingly. So, that would be kind of a bombshell revelation if someone has managed to do that. And to do what? To just talk to people about Binance listings? Like, that doesn't sound right. So I'm
Yeah.
curious about what's going on there as well.
Right.
Um,
Coincidentally, there was just a robbery at the Bank of America around the corner from my apartment. And there might be some video out there that looks like me entering the vault, but it's
right.
become, I've recently become aware that someone has used the technology from James Cameron's hit motion picture Avatar to create an entire model of my body. And they use that to then go in and rob that bank.
Right. Exactly. So it's like one of those explanations that's a little too detailed, and a little too out there that it really makes you start to wonder what's really going on.
Right, right. Now you. I'm thinking about Avatar because I just came back from Disney World and I went on the Avatar ride. Not because I
Oh.
remember that movie at all, because nobody remembers that movie.
I immediately was imagining, Princess Leia, and that's a very comical thing to imagine someone falling for. But I
Right.
don't know why
Oh,
you said a
right.
hologram. Like, that makes me picture that they're like projecting a real 3D person into a seat sitting in front of a webcam to have this conversation, which seems like a lot more work than would actually be necessary. But maybe it's just a wording thing. I don't know.
Right. I feel like it would have been more convincing if he just went like, you were not talking to me about using listing your Binance your coins on Binance, doing some sort of
Yeah,
Jedi mind trick hand wave,
right.
that would be more believable than the hologram.
Or just like wearing the glasses with the mustache attached.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. We just happened to be playing a game of that 3D version of chess in the Millennium Falcon and talking about Binance coin listings. It wasn't me though. So yeah, of course, of course. But speaking of companies that like to exaggerate a bit, um, this news just came out today, and you had actually DM'd it to me because I think you knew I would enjoy reading the latest updates here. But something new is going on with helium. What? I don't even remember if I even talked about helium on the show yet, actually. But what's going on with helium?
Well, besides the bombshell reporting of your own, they today, I think, just came out with an announcement that they are going to be moving away from the special helium blockchain that they've been using to date. And they will be porting over their token that's used to reward people for mining, for providing these helium hotspots to the Solana blockchain. And then they will just be doing away with the actual blockchain components of the rest of the network, pretty much, which is sort of a predictable effect of using blockchains for things that require, fast transactions or, quick processing times, because blockchains are notoriously slow and inefficient. And so they've started to say that they're going to just do those with oracles, quote unquote, which is really just a fancy blockchain-y way of saying using a traditional database, and then, sort of uploading those results where necessary.
So blockchain company decides that blockchain not necessary for its internal systems, I guess.
Right. They're keeping the part where they give tokens to people so that they will feel the need to buy these expensive hotspots. But besides that, there will be no proof of coverage, I think is what they called it. And various other parts of their network will be moving to much more reasonable, I would say, implementations.
Right. I always wondered why, like, all these crypto companies, like all the big exchanges, like, why don't they run like their internal databases, their and like their their employee directories, all their internal communications. Why isn't it all just run on the blockchain if the blockchain's so great?
Yeah, it turns out it's great for attracting venture capitalists and retail investors, but it doesn't work so well for actually processing data or doing anything particularly quickly or cheaply. So they're going to try to use Solana for the actual tokens, which should be interesting because Solana has a pretty big reputation for being extremely slow. It tends to get very clogged up at times, and things sort of just grind to a halt over there. So that could be a little bit of a speed bump for our friends over at Helium, but I guess we'll see how that goes.
Right. Maybe they should, just like how scooters don't do so well over speed bumps, I'm sure. And I should say that I did have a Helium episode on this show, just so people could go back and check it out. I had Liron Shapiro on the show, and we talked about his own Helium findings. And actually, that's the episode that led me down that path of going, hey, wait a minute, what's this? This doesn't make any sense.
Something doesn't seem right here.
So everyone should go check out that episode. And so still, I mean, we could literally talk for hours and hours and hours, which I would love to do, but I'm sure you don't want to sit here and do that. But I do want to talk about one more thing, because speaking of breaking news, we're talking the final day of August 2022, and there's still a few more weeks of summer, but no one considers summer to be after Labor Day. Like, summer ends this weekend, whether you like it or not.
Gotta stop wearing white.
Yes. Kids go back to school. Most people's vacations wrap up. Summer's coming to an end, and it got one last big story on this no good summer for crypto, and that is, I think, everyone's, I don't know if I should say favorite, because I know the Bitcoin maxis love him, or least favorite because everyone else does not love him. Michael Saylor, formerly of MicroStrategy, it just came out today that the DC Attorney General is suing both him and the company that he was formerly CEO of, which he just resigned from earlier this month. He's
the chairman now, though, so he's still with the company.
Right.
But yeah.
So they're being sued for tax evasion, and some of these details I was reading are incredible. Would you like to get into that for us, Molly?
Yeah, so Michael Saylor lives in DC. This is well known, but has been claiming that he lives in Florida, despite the fact that his company knows full well that he lives in DC. He's been paying taxes or not paying taxes as though he is a Florida resident. And Florida doesn't have personal income tax, so it's kind of it's like a tax haven within the U.S. almost for people who don't want to pay as much in taxes. So Michael Saylor reportedly has just skipped out on about $25 million in taxes that he owes to this, to DC, with the aid of MicroStrategy, who has basically helped him cover up the fact that he's not been living in DC. And so the Attorney General filed charges, or rather sued Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy for this. And they're hoping that they'll be able to extract over $100 million from him and MicroStrategy, both in the unpaid taxes and in penalties. So I am very interested to watch this, especially because Michael Saylor has explicitly talked about using Bitcoin to evade taxes.
Right. Yes. And, it's interesting because why wouldn't a guy like Michael Saylor, who's clearly very wealthy, why wouldn't he just live in Florida if he really wanted to avoid those personal income taxes? Like, why, like, I feel like there is that dynamic of, and we were talking about it earlier with, privacy when it comes to, finances. Like, I feel like it's almost explicitly at some times from some of these guys to explicitly feel like they're they're bucking the system. It's not even just like I mean, when you're talking this much money, I'm sure it is also avoiding paying the income taxes. But I mean, he could have just lived in Florida. Like it wasn't like MicroStrategy was like, Mr. Saylor, if you're gonna continue working here, you need to come into the office in DC every day. Like no one would have cared.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he cared a lot about being in the office, or who knows, I mean, I could see why he would want to be living where his company is based, but yeah, you kind of can't have your cake and eat it too, I think, with that particular one. Like you either got to move or you got to pay your taxes.
Right.
But apparently in his mind, Bitcoin was the dream strategy. And, despite bragging about how wealthy he is and how much Bitcoin he holds and how you can use Bitcoin to apparently evade your taxes, it doesn't appear that has actually worked out so well in practice.
Yes, it has not for Michael Saylor. And to give people a little bit of a background of who Michael Saylor is, now, like, MicroStrategy has been around for a long time, right? It was like a legit, from my understanding, like a legit software company in the early days of like the internet, I guess, like the 90s and everything. I have no idea what they did. Do you? What kind of software they had? I know.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people know of MicroStrategy today because it is basically a company that Michael Saylor uses to buy Bitcoin.
Exactly. Like,
the past couple of years, he's basically taken the company and, it's a public company. And so people almost invest, they will basically buy MicroStrategy stocks as a way of getting exposure to Bitcoin, which is absolutely bananas. Like, that is just a wild thing to do.
Like, I could not, when I heard about this, I could not believe this was a legit thing going on where this company basically abandoned everything they did that got them to become a publicly traded company, like got them to that point. And they were just like, oh, our company is basically now just like a shell for buying Bitcoin and holding it. And people are investing in us, like on the stock market, they're buying shares. And I think a lot of people know him for famously saying at the peak of the Bitcoin prices, when it hit like 69K, he was like, sell off your, remortgage your home, sell off everything you own, and buy Bitcoin right now. Yeah. And, if you did that, you are, I would first question, why the fuck would you do that based on Michael Saylor's advice? And number two, you would be down, what? Geez, like, I want to say like almost 75%. I'm doing the math really quickly in my head. I'm probably a little bit high.
Yeah, it's between 2/3 and 75%. Yeah. So, needless to say, Michael Saylor has lost a fair amount of money on Bitcoin, but seems like he may lose a little bit more to taxes. I think he did get in early enough on Bitcoin that he's probably not fully underwater, but he's certainly not doing as well as he was before. And he recently stepped down as the CEO of MicroStrategy, which his telling of the story is that he wants to be able to focus on Bitcoin more, and be all Bitcoin all the time, and so he's gonna basically give up his CEO duties and become chairman so that he's able to do that.
Wait, hold on. So basically, running a company whose sole purpose is to buy Bitcoin was distracting him from buying Bitcoin?
Evidently, there's just a lot of like pesky CEO things that you have to do that he doesn't want to have to do anymore so that he can just think about Bitcoin all day, every day. But I'm sure it has nothing to do with the fact that MicroStrategy reported a $918 million impairment charge on their Bitcoin holdings in their Q2 report, which...
Ouch.
Yeah. And actually, he, in that same interview where he said that you should mortgage your house and buy Bitcoin, you should sell all your stuff and buy Bitcoin, he also suggested that people convince the CEOs and the boards of directors of their companies to put their treasuries into Bitcoin. So really hope no one followed his advice, but he clearly was trying to do that.
Oh, my God. I mean, these guys, I just don't... I don't even know anymore what to say. Like, the people who get attracted to this space, I mean, it's like I would not trust a single person who's a Bitcoin or crypto person. Automatically thinking something is odd there. Something is, they got something in the back of their head they're not telling you about. That's their true motive. Because, why else would you tell people to sell off everything and invest in Bitcoin at its peak? I mean, you could say he didn't know it was at the peak, but clearly he knew it was getting to a point where new money needed to come in. Otherwise, things would start going down. I mean,
I think you answered your own question. Why does he convince everyone to buy Bitcoin? Because he has Bitcoin. And so the more people who buy Bitcoin, the better he does.
Right. Well, Molly, thank you so much for joining me tonight to catch me up on everything that happened during this second half of the Summer of Hell 2022. I feel like I should print up like tour t-shirts for crypto people.
That would actually be really good.
yeah, the Crypto Summer of Hell 2022.
And you can put in like the band fonts, all the companies that have collapsed.
Right, and all the tour dates could be the major days where something happened. Holy
you got to start
shit.
selling merch.
Yeah. Oh my God. Gotta make a list. Gotta get my Coinbase. We don't sell securities t-shirt. Gotta print up the Summer of Hell crypto shirt. Oh my God. Oh my! I think I actually got to do that one now. Actually, it's pretty good.
I'll buy one.
Oh hell yeah! There we go. That's the biggest customer I need. The number one crypto critic influencer right here, Molly White, gonna wear my t-shirt. Hell yeah! I'm gonna print it up. Molly, speaking of all the wonderful things that you do, earlier on I mentioned how, I mentioned Web3 is going great. Obviously mention that all the time because it's fantastic. I mentioned how you got a new Patreon and that you just started up a Patreon, but I didn't mention where people can find it. Where can people find your Patreon?
It's patreon.com/Molly White.
Perfect. And
spelled normally, not with all the numbers and letters.
I was about to say, definitely a smart move in terms of a link where you want people to type in and give you money.
Right.
And I hear that you have a newsletter as well.
I do. Yes, that's at newsletter.mollywhite.net. It's called White Space, and it's coming out roughly weekly. If you join the Patreon, you'll get it a little early, but everyone else can see it for free a day later.
There you go. I see you have jumped on board the Matt Binder train of loading your schedule up with way too many things to do.
Yes.
Too many podcasts, too many newsletters, too many online projects. Sometimes I think, what am I doing here? What am I? I could have just come up with a crypto project and in 3 weeks made $500,000.
You could have rug pulled Matt Binder Inu and would have been amazing.
Yes, and I would have honestly made roughly 150 years worth of what my Patreon is going to make me.
Yep.
Molly White, people can find you on that Patreon page, at that newsletter, and of course, web3isgoinggreat.com. Literally, at this point, I feel like telling people who listen to this show to go there, it's like, what are you doing if you're not going there?
Yep.
Thanks again for joining me, and can't wait to have you back. I feel like I waited too long. Got to have you back sooner. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Now, the summer from hell might be wrapping up, but crypto winter continues into the fall. I'm going to obviously have to come up with something more catchy for the future episodes covering everything that goes down in this autumn season. I don't know. I'll come up with something spooky, I'm sure. But until then, folks, patreon.com/MattBinder to financially support this show and help it grow. You can catch the Scam Economy live stream post show where I take calls. either live if you're watching the live premiere of this episode on YouTube, or you can catch the replay anytime, which is probably what most of you will catch, at youtube.com/MattBinder. And while you're there, subscribe to the channel. You can also watch the post-show live stream with the call-ins at twitch.tv/MattBinder. And while you're there, follow the Twitch channel as well. And if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, why not take the minute to connect your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, which in turn gives you a free Twitch Prime subscription every month that you can give to your favorite creator. Basically, it costs you nothing extra and makes Amazon share the wealth with one of your favorite creators. I'm telling you this because I'm hoping you give it to me and Scam Economy, but just use it, please, on somebody. Don't let Amazon keep even more of your Amazon Prime subscription. Go to scameconomy.com for the links to the podcast audio-only versions of this show. Follow me on Twitter at Matt Binder. Follow Scam Economy on Twitter at Scam Economy. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you can. It only takes a second. It helps new listeners find out about this show because your reviews push this show up on the Apple Podcasts and Spotify rankings. And with all that said, I hope you all had a wonderful summer, at least a better summer than crypto. And I'll see you all next time on the Scam Economy.